Good evening, folks. Hope you guys are all having a good new year. This is Jigger for Bladeslinger Reviews. I was feeling a little bored tonight, so I thought I'd go ahead and make a little video regarding a little reflection of the year 2023, which, I gotta be honest, was actually a really good year for gaming. Usually over on the blog, I do a top 5 disappointments and a top 5 games of the year list, but there were so many good games this year that I actually couldn't even fill up the top 5 disappointment list and even beef my best games up to a top 10, which I'm usually never able to do. So, yeah, it was a good year for gaming, and because I'm still trying to play around with YouTube and different formats for the videos, I thought it'd be fun to make a video just talking about everything that I played this year. It's going to be really informal. I'm not going to be playing any of these games right here. Just going to be talking over gameplay footage of it. And if I use anyone's gameplay footage of this, all rights to them. So be sure you give them a view. I'm not going to be talking about it for the whole video. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. And if there's a game you think I missed this year, please be sure to leave that in the comments. I'm always looking for new games to play, and I know there's plenty that I didn't play this year. I haven't got into the new Hellboy game yet. I know I need to play Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm sure there's plenty more that I can't think of right now. I mean, it was just a really good year for gaming. But anyway, let's start going down the list. And first up is Pizza Tower. So, I actually jumped on this game pretty late, all things considered. I didn't play this until recently, and I'm really disappointed that I didn't because this game was just so much fun. If you can't tell, this game takes a lot of influence from the Wario Land games, particularly Wario Land 4. And like it's the whole point of the game is just bulldozing through everything in your path. And my god, is that so much fun. Just the sense of power, the sense of flow you get from this. It's similar to a Sonic game. This is actually the kind of gameplay I always thought they should have incorporated for Knuckles or Big the Cat or so on, instead of treasure hunting or fishing stages or something like that. So yeah, the game is a lot of fun, and it has a great art style too. If you look at the game in stills, it might look a little crude, but as you can see, there's just a ton of energy in the animation. Characters are constantly off model. Like, you can tell the people who made this were just big fans of old Nickelodeon cartoons like Ren and Stimpy and the like. So yeah, highly recommended if you didn't get a chance to play it this year. And next is the first game I actually played this year, which was the Dead Space remake. So I always found this game a little perplexing in regards to how it came out. So in 2022, when this game was making the rounds, while we were waiting for it, there was another game coming out called the Callisto Protocol, which was set to be sort of a spiritual successor to Dead Space. And not long after that was announced, word got out that there was going to be a Dead Space remake. So you had a remake of the game that inspired the spiritual successor, which was coming out around the same time. Isn't that weird? But in regards to general gameplay, I thought it was too soon to make Dead Space. I actually played the original in October before this came out, and I still had a blast with it. And when I played the remake, it honestly did feel a little redundant. Now, that's not to say that it's not the superior game between them. As you can see, the graphics are just absolutely fantastic. They basically get rid of all the loading screens, so it's just one big seamless experience, which is really cool. And they add lots of gameplay innovations from Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 3, which is welcome. And even the story is told a little bit better, especially considering that they let Isaac keep his voice from number 2 and 3, whereas in the original he was a silent protagonist. So it's still a great game, but again, I just don't think it was time to make this game. It wasn't begging for one, unlike another game that we're going to talk about later. But still highly recommended, one of the better games to come out this year. Okay, Hogwarts Legacy. I gotta be honest, I'm not that big a fan of Harry Potter. I of course have a nostalgia for it. I did grow up with the books and movies, but it's just one of those series that I grew cynical to as I got older. Like, just the magic and how it's portrayed, like, it just stopped appealing to me at some points. But I was interested to play Hogwarts Legacy because the idea of actually getting to live in the world of Harry Potter, go to Hogwarts and do all that fun stuff, it was sort of enticing. I gave it a shot and it was okay. The combat seems deep, but honestly I didn't think there was much to it to begin with. It felt very automated to me. I felt like it would have been better if there was a little more freedom in how you go about your time at Hogwarts. But what disappointed me most about it was you didn't really get to interact with anyone from the books. I think Hermione is in there, but, you know, most of it takes place well after the books happened, so it just doesn't have that same familiarity that should. But that is coming from a guy who never actually finished the Harry Potter series, so maybe people who know more of the extended lore of everything will be able to get more out of it, but it just didn't do a whole lot for me. Not a bad game, but definitely not my cup of tea. And of course, another remake. There were a lot of remakes that came out this year, and if there was one game that did not need a remake, it was Resident Evil 4. Not only has Resident Evil 4 just aged like a fine wine, it's so widely available. Like, if you want to play Resident Evil 4, you can play Resident Evil 4. So when I heard they were making a remake, like, I just was not interested. I mean, it looked good, and I thought there was potential if they wanted to reimagine it as a full survival horror. But
our intel was correct then. Well
then the game came out, I played it, and I gotta be honest, I didn't like it. I mean, it was fine, it was a decent shooter, the combat was alright, but at the same time, like, they just changed a lot from Resident Evil 4, and it just ended up not working out as well. I think my main problem with it is the game just couldn't decide if it wanted to be a full remake of the game, you know, keeping the same gameplay style of the original, or if it wanted to be a full-on survival horror game. So they tried to do both, and the result is just kind of a messy experience. If you want to play a true remake or something that really changes, you know, how you look at Resident Evil 4, I highly recommend the VR version of the game, the VR version of the original game, not this game that came out recently, because playing Resident Evil 4 in VR, it's just so cool, dude. So yeah, I know a lot of people like this game, but I wasn't one of them. The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what this was essentially a April Fool's Day joke that Sega put out. And it was a trailer saying, we listened to the feedback, we're going to give you what you want, and then it cuts to Sonic dead, which confused a lot of people. But then on April Fool's Day, for free, they released this cute little text adventure game starring Sonic and his friends doing a murder mystery party for Amy's birthday. Yeah, you might say I'm reaching with this one, but it just was a fun surprise, and the characterization in this is just fantastic. This is the kind of stuff that I would love to see more in the Sonic game, and have it applied to a really good story like in the IDW comics, and they are starting to get there. That was one of the few good things about Sonic Frontiers, the fact that they actually were starting to get some characterization in there, thanks to Ian Flynn, those guys. But they still got a ways to go. It's still not a Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2 levels of quality yet. But yeah, The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, it's a fun little game, and you can get it for nothing. It's a free download, so if you didn't check it out, be sure to do it. It's a good way to waste a few hours. Now for one of my favorite games that came out this year, Jedi Survivor. So Jedi Fallen Order was something of a surprise for me when it first came out. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. But I'm glad I gave it a shot because it really was a lot of fun, and I just liked what it did within the world of Star Wars. So I was really excited when Jedi Survivor came out, and it did not disappoint. Apart from the fact that they didn't do the tired cliche of depowering your character and have you relearn all the abilities, you get to keep all the abilities from Fallen Order, in addition to learn a bunch of new ones, which is really cool. And in addition to that, they added to the gameplay with different lightsaber forms. There's a lot of side content. The size and scale of it is great. And I know a lot of people have mixed opinions on the stories, and yeah, it dragged on a little bit too long for me. But at the same time, it did do some things that I did really enjoy. It actually does seem like this was written by people who actually understood what happened at the end of Return of the Jedi, as opposed to the sequel trilogy, which didn't have a clue, and it was just some artistic director's interpretation of what happened. So, yeah, Jedi Survivor, fantastic game. I should probably revisit this one. It's been a while since I played it. Probably going to play it for the live stream here soon. But yeah, really good game. Highly recommended. Breath of the Wild. Not Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom. I'm going to get so much hate for this game, but this is probably my most disappointing game that I played this year. It's probably important to note that I didn't really like Breath of the Wild. I thought it was a step in the right direction for, taking Zelda to the next level, but I just couldn't help but feel like it prioritized size and scale over, density and tight gameplay. So it just led to kind of a forgettable experience, which I really felt as I was writing my review for this game, just how little of Breath of the Wild I remembered. That's not even getting into the gameplay mechanics with like the weapon system and the lack of progression that just made it so unsatisfying to play. So based on that, you would think that there would be a lot that they could update with Tears of the Kingdom to make it better, and that's what I hope they would do. But it seems to me like the people who made this thought that the biggest issue with Breath of the Wild was that it was too small, and that's really all Tears of the Kingdom is. It's just a much bigger version of Breath of the Wild, and for a lot of people, that's going to be a good thing. But for me, it wasn't. There was just a lot that they needed to change. And honestly, Tears of the Kingdom pissed me off right out of the gate. Like, you go into that opening scene, you have like dozens of hearts, then you're attacked by Ganon or whatever it was, and you lose all those hearts. And it then just dawned on me that I'm going to have to do all that tedious crap that I had to do in Breath of the Wild again times 3, and for the whole game I was just bored. This was such a chore to play, and I know people are going to bring up all the cool stuff that you can do with the crafting systems and stuff like that, and if you get enjoyment out of that, fine, but that's not why I wanted to play a Zelda game. Like, when I play a Zelda game, I want to feel like I'm going on an epic adventure, but when I play Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, I just feel like I'm making my way through an empty, lifeless world. That's just not good open world design to me. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and if you do, that is perfectly fine. I can definitely see why some people would get into this, but it's just not for me. And now for my game of the year. Hilariously, we are starting looking at a toilet in a bathroom. But yeah, my favorite game to come out this year was definitely the System Shock remake. Like I said, there were a lot of remakes that came out this year, and with most of them, I just didn't see a point to them. Like with the Dead Space remake, I didn't really see a point to that because it was just too soon to remake Dead Space. And there was even less of a reason to make Resident Evil 4 because, again, holds up, still widely available. But System Shock actually needed a remake. The original PC game is a Stone Age game that is so dated, so antiquated, that it's just so hard to play for a modern gamer. which is a shame because the story, the game world, and what it did for the immersive sim genre, it's something that is definitely worth playing. So to see this remake, which by the way had been in development for a long time, come out and be as good as it is, I mean, holy crap, dude! And really, like it's all built upon the general skeleton of the original System Shock. It's essentially a ground up remake in that regard, but they also include innovations from System Shock 2 in regards to the interface and inventory system. But they also keep some of the old school elements to it, so there's very little hand holding in this game, and because of that, it's very easy to get screwed over. This game does not want you to win, and that just kind of puts you into the world. And there's all those beginner traps that are still there. Like, you can still push the red button and destroy the world if you aren't paying attention to what you're doing. And that's just really amusing to me. And what's even more surprising is that people actually got behind that. System Shock was actually really popular when it came out early this year, and I'm really happy to see that. I hope the support that this got actually encourages the team working on System Shock 3 to get back to it and try to get that game going again, because System Shock is just so amazing, and with all the stuff going on with artificial intelligence in the news, with it becoming more and more prevalent in our day-to-day society, I feel like we need to have System Shock to show people the horrors of artificial intelligence, and to just, make sure people know, hey, don't put it in charge of anything that has potential to kill you. And next up, we have Street Fighter. So, I honestly wasn't planning on playing this year, but I actually got into Street Fighter a little bit in 2024, so I decided to go ahead and give it a shot when I got it from GameFly, and I gotta say, I was really happy with what they came up with. Now, that's not to say that, I enjoyed this more than, say, Street Fighter 4, and that mostly comes down to content and all the iconic characters that are in Street Fighter 4. But this is just so much better than Street Fighter 5. There's more single-player content. The online multiplayer is fantastic. Like, it's just complete 180 from what they did with Street Fighter 5, and I'm really happy to say that. The only problem I have with Street Fighter 6 is really the new characters. There isn't a single one among them that I can really name off the top of my head, and that's not really a good thing. I especially hate how, that one guy who's on the box art, again, I can't remember his name, Lucas I think his name is. I don't know why they're trying to push him as the poster boy. Like, you still have Ryu in the game, put him on the box art, you idiots. But yeah, Street Fighter 6, really good. Really excited to see what they add to it over the years. Much better job, Capcom. I'm glad you learned your lesson. Here's another fun game that came out this year, Pikmin 4. Now, in regards to the Pikmin series, I love it in general. Pikmin 1, fantastic game, just one of the most beautifully crafted games Nintendo has ever put out. Pikmin 2, not as good, but still a fun game. And Pikmin 3 is definitely the best game in the series for me. So, Pikmin 4 did have a lot to live up to, and for the most part, I think it did do very well. But there are some things that did bother me about it. The main thing I didn't like is that there isn't really a sense of urgency in it. It's more like Pikmin 2, where they build it more around the thrills of exploration than anything. But in that regard, it still does work, mostly with just how much there is to see and do. It's not just, going into the caverns and just doing that for a couple of hours. There is actually stuff to see out in the world. And there were some other things that annoyed me. I thought some of the stuff they did to improve the progression, like limiting how many Pikmin you can take out to 20 initially as opposed to 100, was a little stupid. But everything else in regards to progression was just fantastic. Pikmin 3, 4, very good game. Highly recommended to Nintendo fans. And it'll last you a good long while. I don't think I finished this game yet, actually. Another Nintendo game that came out this year, and this is one I didn't spend a lot of time on, but it did come out. I did have some fun with it, and really I'm just happy to see it because I'm hoping it'll get us another F-Zero game out soon. So F-Zero 99, plain and simple, it's just the original F-Zero, only now you're racing against 99 other racers. So, as you can imagine, it gets pretty chaotic. So, I played this for a while. I definitely had some fun with it, but I just kind of got tired of racing on the same tracks here and there, and something like this just isn't as much fun if you're not playing with people next to you. That's what I always enjoyed about the F-Zero series, just racing with my brothers, trying to stay ahead of each other, and then us just accidentally clipping each other, and then we tumble across the finish line with 0 health bar. You just don't get that from this, but it is still a really fun game. As you can see, it's very chaotic, and I do hope that Nintendo continues to add to it, and please, please, give us another F-Zero game. What is wrong with you, Nintendo? I will pay money for it. Just make it. Ah, boy. Okay, so here's another game that really disappointed me. Now, to be honest, I didn't really have high hopes or really much interest in Sonic Superstars to begin with. I was sort of soured on Sonic Frontiers, which aggravatingly people really liked. I guess I'm in the minority on it in regards to its quality. But them just making a 2D Sonic game after Sonic Frontiers just felt to me like them saving face for people like me who wouldn't like it. And that ended up not really working out for them because the only thing I saw from this was that it was made by Sonic Team and not the Mania team, which are the people I want working on Sonic games right now. I really don't care for Sonic Team anymore. They are out of touch with what a good Sonic game is these days. So, a lot of people say that they're still on good terms with each other, but after how they retreated during the development of Sonic Origins, I wouldn't be surprised if they declined to work on Sonic Superstars just because they were tired of dealing with Sega and Sonic Team. As for Sonic Superstars, it's okay. That's all there is to it. It's just okay. The level design is okay. The music is okay. The graphics are okay. It is just okay. I am so sick of saying that. I'm tired of that being the best Sonic can do. I want to be able to say, holy crap, this is really good. Like when I played Sonic Colors, when I played Sonic Generations, or Sonic Mania, or the adventure games. I just don't get to say that anymore. And one last note about Sonic Superstars before we move on. The boss fights in this game just suck, dude. I don't know what they were thinking with the design. They just take so much time to fight. When I think of my time with Sonic Superstars, I just remember trying and trying again what the boss is. In a Sonic game, I want to spend more time in the levels. I want it to be about the movement of the levels, how you move through them. The unique design of it. I don't want to be constantly trying the boss fights again and again. This isn't Cuphead, for crying out loud. So yeah, did not like Sonic Superstars. And I almost forgot to include it here. That's just how forgettable it was for me. Probably never going to play it again. Now here's a game that I was not really super excited for, but still eager to play. The original Spider-Man was probably my favorite game on the PS4, so I was really excited to play Spider-Man 2, but I was honestly more interested in Wolverine than I was Spider-Man 2. At the end of Marvel Spider-Man, my thought was, oh my god, I can't wait for them to make another Spider-Man game. My thought was, oh man, I can't wait to see what other developers get to work on these Marvel games. I was thinking like maybe Infamous doing a Daredevil game, or Insomniac doing an Iron Man game, or maybe Naughty Dog doing a Captain America. Like, just seeing other superheroes get the same level of polish that a AAA game would have, instead of just, bare minimum multi-platform like you typically see with games like this. But I was still excited to play Spider-Man 2, as I said, and for the most part it was good. They did expand upon the gameplay in meaningful ways. For example, I didn't think they could make traversal any better, but the addition of the web wings actually makes it even more fun to play. The special attack system that they implemented was really good. And just so much content. This is probably the game I played the most this year. However, there are some things where I feel it did feel short. This is probably going to shock a lot of people, but I thought the story sucked. And that's primarily because I do come from a background in comic books, and the symbiote story is just something I'm super familiar with. And I didn't think they did a very good job with it, honestly. It just felt very standard, and I feel like having Peter and Miles together sort of cheapens both characters. Like, in the case of Miles, having Peter there cheapens his character, because the appeal of Miles was that he wasn't necessarily that he had to be Spider-Man. It's the fact that he had to replace a far more experienced Spider-Man without anyone to really help him do it. So having Peter there just kind of cheapens his character, I would say, and having Miles help Peter through the symbiote stuff also sort of ruins that storyline, because, the whole point of that was it was an internal struggle for Spider-Man. So for them to have Miles helping him through that just kind of ruined that. And there are also times when I felt the controls got a little too complicated for their own good. Like the parry system, for example. It wasn't uncommon to use one of your special attacks as you go to do a parry, because you would probably be mashing the button as you were doing that to activate one of your special attacks instead. I don't even know why they felt the need to have a parry mechanic in Spider-Man, because his whole deal is avoiding attacks, not necessarily redirecting it. But apart from that, it was still a really fun game, but I still think the first Spider-Man is a lot better. But that's just my own personal opinion. And the last game to come out this year is, of course, Super Mario Wonder. Or at least the last game that I played this year. And to be honest, this is another one that I would just say is okay. I know a lot of people really liked Super Mario Wonder. And let me tell you, it was really good. It was really fun to play. But when I really thought about it, there wasn't really a whole lot that set it apart from other Mario games. Now, that's not to say that they didn't try. The Wonder Flower and stuff like that. That it changes the levels and does all these cool gimmicks. That was really cool. All the different enemy types were fun. But it just felt more like a really polished version of a new Super Mario Bros. Something that they did put a little more effort into, but not necessarily something that I would call amazing. Still a really good game, highly recommended, especially if you got friends to play it with. But it definitely isn't something I would say was the best to come out this year. Well, I guess I would say it is. It is still just really fun, but it feels very safe to me. That's a good word for it. It feels very safe. But yeah, that's basically everything I played in 2023. As for what I'm excited for in 2024, to be honest, I don't know much that's coming out. There are a couple of games I'm excited for. There's a Prince of Persia game on the horizon, which I'm excited for. I'm still waiting on that Sands of Time remake. I don't even know if that's still a thing. Damn, that's the only thing I can think of right now. I'm sure there's more coming out that I'm just not aware of at the moment. And of course, there's stuff that could come out but doesn't have a definite release date yet. For example, there's supposed to be a new Clock Tower by Way Forward coming out here soon. Metroid Prime 4, that's still missing in action. There's still plenty that could come out next year, but yeah, 2023 was just a really good year, but I'd like to hear what you guys thought of the year. What were some of your favorite games that come out this year? If I didn't include them here, please include them in the comments because, again, I'm always looking for different games to play for the blog. Be sure to like and subscribe. I don't do these videos very often, but I do live streams every Saturday at 8 o'clock. And the general format there is I pick a game, I play it for an hour, and I just talk about the design of it because that's just something I'm really passionate about. Not doing it for any kind of money, not trying to become a YouTube star or anything. Just trying to use it as a platform to talk about something I love. Anyway, I hope you guys all have a happy new year and take care.